think that's pretty much a given. I don't mind, stating that because he's not really going to be a liaison between the Metro Board, but to the Architectural
Yes.
Board. Even though we're sitting in the same chairs, it's going to be two totally different entities, which I'll get into a little later. But that was my main concern, was the, adding a board member when we shouldn't be doing that, because the lawyers already instructed in the past that board members shouldn't do things like that.
You have any thoughts, Bert?
So in essence, instead of that, then you will be present at their meetings every day.
Yeah. And usually,
Even
you know,
if it's not.
even if it's a complaint,
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably be the one reviewing the complaint right off the bat to bring it to the committee.
Right.
To say, okay, this is what I found, this is where we're at. The committee's gonna look at it and say, this is
Our recommendation.
our recommendation on it, yes.
And the other thing we had on there was, you have the complaint, it's a written complaint, but it needs to be signed by the person filing the complaint.
But it's gonna
But
stay,
it stays in his office and the board never sees the person.
No, that's the reason we had anonymous on, because that has gotten many people killed in recent years. There was recently a little old lady in California that reported a covenant violation, and the neighbor was a gangster, and little old lady is no longer a little old lady, she's a dead little old lady, because she had to sign a document.
So how do we get, we're gonna be inundated with a whole bunch to
We
kind of
are.
catch up.
okay, so.
So how do we mimic that from every Tom, Dick and Harry just
We don't.
doing that? I think we need to,
We don't.
that's what, my concern is, you have to be willing to, I understand your part too. But if they don't know who the person is, it's confidential, again, it's confidential.
First off, we're dealing with only something within the Metro District covenants.
That's
On
right.
top of that, our ethics and our rules and regulations say we must treat everybody equally.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna be inundated, but at the same time, we can only get to what we can get to.
Right.
He's gonna have to prioritize and get to it as quickly as he can, but at the same time, he's got a job to do. So, I mean, if 3,000 citizens brings in complaints, well, it might take him 5 years to get to them, but he's gonna have to prioritize them.
So it's a job security.
It's a job security.
So, see, we listen, and James and I talked to each other
Or
quite a
job,
bit.
job losing position.
And you had concerns about the covenants, and he's in the process. Our thinking is you have a folder for each one of those areas. And we'll have the covenants for that area that we have on file here, and he's getting them
And it
from
will
the
be on the
courthouse.
website,
Yes.
too.
And they'll be on there, and he's gonna get them all, so when they're in there working, they'll have all those covenants for that area that they're addressed.
Most of them should be pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you wanna see them, I wanna see them on paper.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
absolutely.
absolutely, yes. That's,
Absolutely.
that's part
And
of.
that's
I think
where
we've
this
got it down here that,
advisory
we'll
comes in.
develop, a true and correct copy.
Yeah.
So we've got it in there that he'll develop a true and
Most
correct.
of them shouldn't be very time consuming.
But you can look through that some more and see if there's anything added, changes you need to make, whatever, to go forward with it. We're getting there, step at a time. We also, within the last week, Josh and I were able to meet with District 70. They are interested, they want to rent the rec center. I brought it to you guys earlier on in the year at $600 a month. The only issue that we have is the first year it's probably gonna eat up because we have to change the door out and for fire exit. We have 2 fire exits, but they're on the same side of the building. So we're gonna have to put in a door in the sidewalk that will be ADA compliant and all of that. They will do the snow plowing, General maintenance around it, they'll be taking care of that.
After it's ADA
Yeah,
compliant and stuff.
yeah. So, I'll be bringing you a contract back soon as we get it back from the school district, they'll sign it, I'll bring it to our next meeting, and we can vote and go forward with it to accept it or whatever. But they're looking at trying to be in there by the 17th, wasn't it? Of August. Or 13th, yeah, of August.
You were not, privy to the discussions they had in Rye, but me and Bob actually were there when they were doing the same thing with Rye.
Mm-hmm.
Have they talked to you about HVAC or anything? Because with Rye, they were willing to do all building.
We
Flip
went
the
through
costs.
that, and I think that's why they turned around and they told Rye no. Is because they wanted them to do all of that, and, if you
Well, actually,
notice.
he was sitting there and he actually volunteered to do all that. So
But then
maybe-
he took it to the board, and with all the problems that the school districts are having in Pueblo, with District 60, and they're looking at shutting down schools and things like that, that's why I think they cut it back and said, well,
Whether
no.
backed off that deal.
Yeah. That, hey, we got a building, he even came to us and he says, $600 a month is a lot. And I said, well, if we're gonna have to put in all these updates, we're gonna need to charge you that. I said, now, in the second year, we'll look at it again when you come back to renew the contract, if you're gonna renew it. But
So
at
it's
this
a
point,
1 year.
1 year with the renewable to the second, auto renewal at what?
And what all were we going to be doing for them besides making the bathroom ADA compliant?
No, actually, the bathrooms are fine, it's just that on the north side of the building, there is no exit, except if you go through, Josh's office, which he doesn't wanna have the kids going through his office, and I don't blame him. They'll lock that door, and we'll put in
We're gonna remove the
Entry
window
door.
and essentially make it a door.
yeah. There was a tree
And the
right
cost
in the
of
window
those?
that was lifting up the roof and everything, we cut the tree out at this point anyway, and we can put a door in there, and we'll pass fire code and everything else that needs to go on.
Okay.
Okay, anything else for our work session?
I believe that's probably it. Okay, close the work session, we'll immediately go into the, regular board meeting, if you'd join me for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, if you desire to, join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Let the minutes reflect, the entire board is here. I need first an approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I request a change to the agenda. I would like to add under new business, the, direction to, under old business, direction to retrieve the letters.
I will second that motion.
Okay,
No, we're just, let me finish it up here.
Okay.
And then also under, old business, adoption of the proposal, because that has to go to a public hearing before we can make final on that, of the Architectural Control Committee. And, I also have, two other new business proposals. We need to switch the position of the agenda from, the new and old, because we're constantly holding one off to do the other. I think just a simple switch. Also, another new business, purchase order, create and implement a purchase order system for all purchases. There was one we talked about earlier, I didn't know if you wanted to put that on or not.
Okay,
We're gonna do that as a group, or we're gonna do those as individual?
yeah, I would suggest we do them individually, if that's all right with you. If you wanna have them all on, you're the one making the
And
motion.
I also had, but it's on here, he got this one on the order.
Okay. So are
All
you
of them
again?
as one.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to add to old business the retrieval of, audit letters and what was it with the approval of the architectural
Plan.
control plan, and to switch new business and old business permanently on the agenda, and to create and implement a purchase order plan. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Right?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. With those changes then, could I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I will make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Could I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes. I need a motion to approve the study work session of July 9th, as well as the regular meeting of July 9th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, due to the statement we apply to each section stating that they may not be true and correct.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bills payable, and do we usually have bills payable?
No, what we had was, Kelly went on vacation like the 3rd of July. These were bills that normally come in and they came in after the 3rd, and we were unable to get them into that first run. They are normal bills that we do have, which is, like natural gas.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the, bills payable.
It's been moved that we pay the bills, in our packet. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Financial report, anything?
No, operational
That's-
part, no.
Okay. At this time, read the statement of conduct and demeanor, not dismeanor. In order for the business of the board to be conducted in the most effective and expeditious manner, it is necessary that all persons present retain a demeanor of civility toward the board, staff, and each other. Conduct that appears threatening or aggressive will not be tolerated. Shouting, speaking out of order, or the use of offensive gestures similarly are not acceptable. Such behavior shall constitute the forfeiture of your right to remain in attendance and may, as a point of order brought to the board's attention by council or any board member, including the chairperson, result in your being asked to leave the meeting by the chairperson, or upon your refusal being escorted out of the meeting by proper authorities. I do wanna say too, I appreciate all of you here. It was getting very lonely every other Tuesday. It was like you could hear your voice echo, and it's nice to have so many people here. We have one person who signed up to speak tonight, Jim Butcher. Jim, do you mind standing up?
Is there a subject on the agenda for utility extensions? That's really what I wanted to speak to, and
That was,
Was
we'll
it-
have a public hearing on the cistern and, septic systems. Is that what you were?
well, all utilities actually, roads and everything.
Well, yes, we do have an agenda item dealing with cisterns. You can speak now, you can speak then, we're not real rigid about when
I'd
you
just
speak.
soon speak now, I guess.
All right,
Okay.
and if you don't mind, stand.
Sure.
And maybe, introducing yourself and give us your address.
My name is Jim Butcher. I used to live here, for 16 years. I have lived in Pueblo, for the last 20 or so. I live at 1 Judy Stream Lane in Pueblo. Just by way of introduction I'm a developer. I was a commercial real estate broker in my work life. I'm retired, I'm 81. I did develop Regency Park in Pueblo and had the only $1 million home subdivision in Pueblo, west of Stonewall Hills, towards the dam. I still have about a dozen lots here in Colorado City. I've had up to 100, I guess, in the past, having developed Unit 44, and some lots in Applewood, and with these that are left, I don't know that I'm gonna live long enough to do anything with them. I'm still desirous of doing that, and when I saw in the paper, I believe it was in your paper, that there was going to be a meeting regarding allowing cisterns and different types of developments maybe that aren't according to what you've allowed in the past, I thought I should speak to that.
Okay.
I think if I were to knock 100 doors out here, I don't think I'd and ask, would you like to have a neighbor? I doubt if anyone would say yes. And that's normal. What's the benefit? You might, I find it hard to get a seat at the restaurant or something, so, or maybe there'd be more traffic on the road. But, things would be much better if there were some growth. Things like daycare center and schools in general, the golf course, restaurants, car servicing, medical care of all types, drugs, businesses of all types would thrive better, and that would help the community. And it would probably lower or keep taxes from being raised. They never lower. When lot owners that live out of town pay their taxes here, they probably look at this $50 or whatever it is, as a minor expense, because wherever they come from, the taxes are probably more than that. But they're assuming that this lot is viable. And if they knew that it wasn't, I don't know how many would keep paying that. And that could be a major problem. And listening to the hard work you go through here with mundane items, whether sick leave or vacation or meetings, whatever, that's a pretty hard job, I would think. But that's, I don't wanna say rear-ending deck chairs on the Titanic, but if the community were to go broke because these absentee owners got wind that their lot was useless, and that they were paying, let's say, $50 for water availability, thinking that that's some advantage to them, when there's no sewer availability, no street, no power, or any one of them missing, they're dead in the water. So paying on one of them is really very stupid. And it's just fortunate that they don't know that. And I'm not gonna tell them and shoot myself in the foot, but, that could happen. It has happened in other communities. So, I think it's important that, you try to do what you can to get growth, and whether that means easing some rules on septic systems, or on wells, or on, people that want to extend utilities. Up in 44, on Star Court, I extended those utilities. And then my grandson put a house in there this last year, And I was getting the tap fees because I had put in the utilities years ago. I put in the power as well. But then he was denied that avoidance of the now $10,000 tap fee when I had put them in, as well as the street. And we paid it just to get it done. I wanted to help him learn what the business world is about. He had just graduated from college. So, my point is that it's important to make the lots that are useless as usable as they can be, and in many cases, it's merely a little concession on your part and nothing out of your pocket. For example, I have 4 lots up by Delray, or 6 lots up by Delray. They all have water, they all have street, some 4 of them need power, but I can manage that. Or if you let people do solar, they could do solar and probably live off of that. But they don't have sewer. And if I were to put in the sewer, I would get nothing for that other than make a lot viable. So I think it makes sense for you, if I or anybody else that has lots here wants to develop one and put in that 1 or 2 remaining utilities that are missing, so that can be viable and it'll make all those in between viable, then let that person that paid that money collect that money back when somebody taps on, as was allowed in Unit 44 when I put in Starport. And that cost the district nothing. There's 40 houses up there you wouldn't have otherwise. So, that's probably my main thrust. But I'm talking about septic, I'm talking about solar, I'm talking about cistern, I'm talking about roads, I'm talking about wells. And that's a massive thing to think about, how you could construct or make rules that don't harm the public needlessly, or don't harm anybody needlessly, and don't cost you money that you don't have, that could still make the community much more viable. There was a councilman recently that made the paper in Pueblo stating that he had checked, and Pueblo County has the lowest growth almost of the whole state, and everybody else is booming. And he wondered, well, why is this?
Regulations.
Well, just ask any builder or any developer. It's the hardest place in the state to build. And the regional planning is not your fault, or regional building department, or the planning and zoning department isn't your fault. But you have a lot of sway with those people. And you can say, listen, we don't care if you screw up Pueblo. We want this place to grow. And even though nobody here will want a neighbor and have that growth, they have to, like educating the public on the ballot issue, you need to educate them, I think, on benefits to them. And it's not gonna hurt them, it's gonna help them. So, I think I'm about done with that. Oh, to find out, I didn't finish my statement there, to find out how to do these adjustments to make growth more viable, I think you could ask any number of builders. You'll get an earful from Rex, or you'll get an earful from any builder, or any developer, as to things you could do to make it easier. Whether it's the ease of the routing slip, so you don't have to make 10 trips out here. Figure out some way to make that sign off easy. It's that people are busy, they're trying to make a buck, they don't have time to do that. And you think, well, we're just looking out for the public, we don't want them to get in trouble, they're dumb, we gotta protect them. Well, let the builder protect himself. Don't try to outthink him, I think. Let him make a mistake. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, public hearing.
You'll have to close the meeting and go into the public hearing now.
getting a lot of use out of this gavel. Okay, we'll close the regular meeting of the board of
Or
directors.
adjourn it for now.
Adjourn it. I'm gonna close it.
Where are we adjourning the meeting?
We'll,
To
cause
go
we
into
gotta do
public
the public
hearing.
hearing, then we'll go back. And I'm gonna open the public hearing. Okay?
What you have is, you're amending the rules and regulations regarding use of cisterns and septic systems. Let me pull it up here. We discussed this about 2 months ago. One of the biggest concerns was you have a lot of property that is down south in units, what is it, 30?
31, 24, 23.
That you do not have any water, sewer, anything of that, but you have bigger lots down there. Some of these people have bought 2 lots to make an acre lot. They're asking to drill a well, which within our bylaws and stuff, to drill a well is you're in our aquifer for Colorado City. So by giving them another avenue of either putting in a water cistern where they can hold their water from our water station and putting in a septic system, it would be beneficial. One of the guidelines is it has to be further, the residence location more than 400 feet from an existing water line or a sewer line. If it is within that 400 feet, then they'd have to do the extension. But that is one of the deals where we were not able to offer cisterns. There's a lot of places that even within higher up in the mountain that are tanks wouldn't be able to get water there unless they pump it from their tap or whatever to get water to them. So this gave us outlet for developing some of the properties that we do not have existing infrastructure in. And also, it also puts back the people coming in and wanting to drill a well under a hardship because they don't offer us any way to service our house or whatever without drilling a well. So it opens up the
You're talking about the cistern.
Yes, for the system.
Because a well has to be what, how many acres for a well?
You don't have to have a certain size for a well, you have to have the size for the septic.
No, you have to have a size for a well in the county with water rights, I think it's 20 acres, 25 acres?
No, that's a guarantee.
5 acres?
35.
35 acres?
I think you can't
35
drill on
is
anything less than 35.
But you cannot drill a well on
I don't
1
know
acre.
that.
You can.
I don't think so. But a lot of them aren't with water in these places. But anyway.
So, but this was one of the reasons of bringing this resolution in. I know it's been 45 days, which we had to wait 30 days for a public hearing to do it, to bring it back to the board. We went through it, changes were made as to the distance and things like that. Because I think we started out with 500 feet. We also said that you had to have a permit to do this, and that is in there. It's a temporary variance agreement allowing the use of cisterns and or septic systems. There was a $100 fee, which I believe we put on there within the first meeting, that we wanted the fee because we'd have to go out and check and make sure, just like we do with the advisory committee, to make sure that they did have an acre, it was pinned out their property, where they were gonna put it and all that, so that you did not have the conflict. So we figured the $100 fee would take care of all the paperwork and going out to review it and check it.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so definitely if any of you have thoughts or comments about this issue, please make them known. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was wondering if, like he stated, is that going to be opening up the whole city or area of Colorado City to let people come in and do anything they want to on this property? because I have empty lots, but they're very small lots. Are they gonna be able to bring in trailers or, A-frames or anything to downgrade my property? Or are they going to have rules and regulations of what they can put on it?
The covenants are already in place and they must follow the covenants.
Okay, those covenants will stay put
Yes, ma'am.
as are?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, that's what I
Yes,
need.
none of this affects the covenant.
No.
Cause I don't want, they're small lots up there where
It
I'm
doesn't
at.
change the covenants at all.
Okay, thank you.
How many, is there any development down in there right now?
No, there has.
Is there any houses, is there any residences down in, let's say, 31, 30, 24, 23, down in that area? Are there residences down there already? Is there anything down there?
Nothing within the district boundaries.
Well, could you not, according to our covenants, turn those areas down there into an off-grid system of some kind for a residential neighborhood of people who would want to build off-grid style community areas down there in that area. But it still has to be, according to our covenants, it has to be a certain amount of square feet. It's gotta be a certain kind of structure. I mean, I think off-grid systems are an opportunity in our day and age. I don't think they're a detriment on land where there's possibilities. Now, I'm not in favor of a guy having an acre and drilling a well. I would not, there is no way in the world I would allow that. I don't think any of us in this community, that would not be advantageous for us to do that. We would shoot ourselves in the foot. But to designate an area of our community for off-grid style living, you have people every day that are, that would love to have something like, they might utilize a piece of property someplace. But you know what? I don't think you do it for free. You put in a cistern, yes, they're gonna buy water from the district. They're going to buy water. You can't put in a septic in an area where it's not engineered and it's gonna pollute somewhere and it's gonna cause an issue. I don't see that, but as long as it's engineered and you could designate an area down in there as an off-grid community style thing, but it'd have to be really controlled because you would end up with people living in trailer houses and all kinds of things. I don't think we want that. There's no way in the world we would want that.
Thank you.
By adopting this, we're doing what you're talking about. It allows people to put in things in these outlying areas. But there again, it does not override the covenants. The covenants stand on all of this. We can't designate a new section for covenants off-grid. It's whatever they want to do, as long as it's within the covenants that are already written along the property. All this does is now make the properties usable, because in one of the previous meetings, we've adopted a program for the roads going to these. So now that we've got the roads and we're adding the water and septic in this situation, we're now making a lot of that buildable, but only buildable under the covenants that are in place on the specific units.
I saw a hand over here, but I
Well
didn't
said,
see
Bob.
who raised it. Go ahead, ma'am.
When you talk about this, is this going to be for any section of Colorado City? Or is it just for the sections that we're talking about down here?
No, it's for any section that does not have water and sewer.
Within
So it would be
400
limited
feet.
just to those sections with
Yes.
no water and sewer available at this
Not a
point?
section, any area of the community that has no water and sewer within 400 feet.
And then you also have to be able to get an, approved septic permit, which we don't control. You gotta get that from the county, and the county has acreage requirements
Yeah.
on septic permits.
Usually 3/4 of an acre, so that generally means they have to add 2 or 3 lots together in order to do this.
I don't I guess I don't see where that restricts that to here. When I read this,
Well,
it makes me think it's to any place in Colorado City.
it is any place in Colorado City, but not what we're talking about. If you read our regular rules and regulations, we don't service anything that's more than 400 feet from a line now. So all this does is everything 400 feet now, it gives those people an option. If it's 400 feet or less, under our current rules and regulations, they must extend the lines.
And hook up to ours.
And hook up
Yes.
to our system.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Who's responsible for the roads then? Would the Metro be responsible or the homeowner?
Metro.
So you'd have to gravel them, you'd have to bring them up to county standards?
Do we
No,
have the
not
money
county
to do
standards, Metro standards.
Well, the county, the Metro adopted the county's road standards, so it's
Yeah,
one and the
years
same.
ago.
We
don't
adopted
have-
the width, not
The width, we don't do the paved roads,
Correct.
curb
Right
cut.
here, curve.
But you'd still have to do the,
We'd have to do snow removal and the maintenance.
and,
Gravel.
yeah, a foot of gravel or whatever they're, yeah.
How do you make the revenue to make up for that expense, for this man to have to do that?
So the previous, roads proposal that was approved and put in was that in these instances, people would have to pay, $1,000 for every 500 feet of road put in for the initial cost that involved with us.
Yeah, so the Metro would do the construction, but they get
$1,000 for every 500 feet of road.
yeah,
put
so
in.
the homeowner would have to cover that.
Correct.
Or if he had a quarter mile, he would pay X amount of dollars.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then just to recoup the initial cost.
Right, and whoever's tied into that, they would have to come up with.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a requirement if, let's say, one of these areas, they put in a septic and they put in a cistern, is there any time requirement on when they have to build, when they have to actually build on that property?
Yes.
Because we have, we have an area, we have a lot in our neighborhood that the guy has been building on for 3 years at least. He's done nothing. He put up a little shed, he has a camper trailer and runs a generator and has done nothing.
That'll be addressed under the covenant issues that's coming up and shortly, but, they can't do this until they get a building permit. So, they have to get that building permit before we sign off.
Which has the time
Yes, ma'am.
restrictions on
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
The building permit's good for 1 year.
And the regional building enforces that,
Yes.
time restraints of when they issue that building permit. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, it's usually 6 months. And then
6
you
months
renew.
and then renewable for
And you
6 months.
renewable, and renew from there.
So you have 1 year, basically.
1 year.
And then, and by doing this, it kinda goes into what you're saying, that if they wanna go to solar and, you know, make it a, what do they call them, an earthship, where they gather water off their roof, they can go into the cistern and all of that, so.
So they could realistically, in this situation, the Metro would put in the road and they would be able to access their property, but they would essentially be able to build an off-grid home.
Yes.
Yes.
They would still be purchasing the water from us for their cistern.
Here's what I would, for me, if you allow a cistern on a property in this community, that water has to be bought at that water stand.
Yes.
You can't go outside, you can't have water delivered from other places. You must, that person that has that cistern must be obligated to buy the water from this water district.
With the cost effectiveness and everything, I don't think anybody's
Why
gonna
would they
go
not
out
do
here.
that?
Yeah.
I understand,
Yeah.
but I think it should be written in that they would, yeah, I think it should be something that is understood, that they would buy their water from the district.
And if I remember right.
Actually, I think though, we do sign off on the building permit as we're supplying them the water, correct?
Right, it's
Mhm.
water source,
So
water
I,
source. has
water
to be
source,
signed
so I
off.
believe they actually are supposed to
Yeah.
follow that water source.
You get
I
a will
believe.
serve letter.
Yes, sir.
I just wanna thank you gentlemen for the time and effort you put in on this with the, road situation and water and sewer addressed. There's a lot of lots that'll become buildable, and I think you'll see some progress there, more tax revenue.
To answer your question, I'm sorry, to answer his question, bulk water for cisterns, property owners who have received a temporary variance under rules 4.6 allowing installation of cisterns may purchase bulk water from the district, subject to availability and payment of the
Absolutely.
fees.
Yes.
Because that's, you gotta realize that too, in that, say you do have a, drought year, you know, that's usually the first thing.
Availability, right,
That comes off is our bulk,
that's right.
cause we're, the people that pay that tap fee every month, they have first right to that water over that bulk
Absolutely.
rate.
I'm gonna move to close the public hearing.
Okay.
I'll go ahead with.
I just have one more question about the water. What is the availability of the water? I mean, we've lived here since '91 and all we've ever heard is there's really not a lot of availability for our water. If we put in X amount of new houses in here, is that a win-loss situation? I mean, do we have water to make 100 new homes?
So there was a hydrolysis report done, I believe, 2009. So there's 5,000 and some change acre feet of available water, and then we are using less than 1,000 of that to currently supply. Now granted, it's 2009, at that point in time, they said, I believe there was roughly 600 houses that they believed could be built in addition to what we already had, to still fall within those, what our water rights are and what water is available. Obviously, Mother Nature plays a part into that as well. So 5,707.58 is total available water. And we were water committed, essentially what we were putting out at that time was 556 acre feet. So well within what water was available. I don't believe 100% that these numbers are as accurate anymore due to drought conditions, so on and so forth. But the percentage of what we are committing versus the percentage of what is still available, I think we're still well within 50%.
Also.
Well, the reason I'm
when we-
asking that, excuse me, is because it's not been too many years ago, we've been on restrictions.
Right.
Absolutely.
More than
But
1 year
here's
in a
the
row,
problem
because we
we've
didn't
got.
have enough water.
So
We
part
have a
of this.
problem, hold on just a sec, Don, please. We are mandated under our statement of purpose to give them water.
If we don't have it, we
If
can't
we
give
still
it.
mandated to give them water.
But if,
I don't like it any more than you do, but we are mandated to give them water.
So part of this that, it's all fine and dandy, I say, okay, you got 5,000 acre feet of water available. The part that, where water restrictions play into this is, a lot of, well, over half of that available water is through wells. So water restrictions were put in place to mitigate the expense to the district to run those wells at the cost of roughly $9,000 a month to run a single well in electricity costs. So the decision was made in those instances to not put the district or the taxpayers to endure those costs. Let's conserve and let Mother Nature help us out.
Well, my only concern, like I say, is we've lived here a long time, and there's been too many years we didn't have enough water. And I understand what this gentleman right here is saying, but there again, you can't supply what you don't have.
We have the source. We haven't completely developed all of our source. So you'll see us talk about that in future meetings.
Like the extra reservoir or something?
Yes.
That's one item, yes, but there are other sources that we're going to be discussing in the near future.
Repurposing wells and things that need to be, that have sat and nothing done to them, and it's moving forward. But it's part of that as getting money in here to help do that. And that's part of the groundwork that we're trying to do, like with Tabor, everything else, to get us resources to be able to do it.
There's
So
infrastructure.
refurbish a well, redo, put in the other lake, redo our present dam, you know, things that need to be addressed and keep it from getting us on further restrictions or non-compliance and situations like that.
I wanna make sure we hear everyone, but I also don't wanna drag it on forever. Any closing comments, someone really, some burning desire that you have to? And can I put your name down for that architectural control committee, since you have somebody there? I was afraid of that. That's one of the ongoing problems.
I think that road right there.
Now that you moved out of it.
I think he stepped up, that's what he did.
Any last, I'm not trying to shut anybody down early, but I also, most of the comments have been fairly similar. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to reopen the regular meeting, with the agenda items for the night. James?
Okay, first on the agenda is resolution 092019, which is, resolution of the Board of Directors of Colorado City, Metropolitan District, amending rules and regulations regarding the use of cisterns and septic systems and setting related fees.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt said resolution.
Okay, we can move that we adopt resolution 92019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of adopting the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion 92019 carries.
Okay, next on agenda items is resolution 10-2019, resolution designating the district's website, designating the district website as location for posting notices of regular and special meetings of the Board of the Directors, Colorado City Metro District.
Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 10-2019?
Mr. Chairman, I make said motion.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on resolution 10-2019? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next is resolution 11-2019, resolution adopting amended bylaws.
Okay, where I lost it,
Yeah, which
It's
bylaws?
under the green.
second
It's
one under
second
the
one.
green.
It's the second
There's
page. I
two.
put both of them
Mine
together
got
since they were.
financials under that green. Maybe look
Oh,
under
here.
this green.
It's the first green.
First reading.
Section 2.
Oh, I see it.
Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 11-2019?
I so move.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
This is the one where it says 24 hours, and we said he's gonna still do 24, but
Yes.
just
I'll
12.
second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. The only thing I would say, James, I do think we should try to hit the
Friday.
times that we're already doing.
Friday, yes, I agree with you. And like I said, it makes it a lot easier. I've been on that side, and I know I wanna have my packet on Friday afternoon, if I can get it. Yeah.
Okay, other discussion? All in favor of approving said resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I put this on there, I didn't know whether you wanted to make an appointment or make a decision on it tonight. We can carry it on to the next agenda, our next meeting. I had no,
We, actually set that for the next meeting at the first motion.
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
And I would say to the board that, I think this is probably the second most important thing we've done this year.
Absolutely.
So take your time, review, Lou and Neil's, comments. There's certainly no restrictions to visiting with them, talking to them, as long as you don't do it as a group of 3 or more. And, if you come up with questions, the way we find out who's gonna work best in this board is by talking to them. And, certainly appreciate, I think we left, but I certainly appreciate both of you taking the time to do this. And that will be one of the first items on the next agenda.
Okay, next item agenda, I did have the letters already as a, decision action item there. We don't have to do it under old business. Board approval for letters to approve the letters from the attorney
And or auditors. Because the attorney may not have in her possession the actual auditor's notes.
Okay.
I will make said motion.
And it might have to come from the attorney to the auditor to get it.
Okay, Bob, let's verbalize your motion for me.
I'll make a motion to recover the missing, letters from the auditors, some of which are in the possession of the attorney, some of which will probably be in the possession of the auditors for, safekeeping at the Metro.
And you are okay with adding to your motion the, parts that the letters are used
Absolutely.
here, may not use the building, and their confidentiality is not changed?
Unless the board votes otherwise, absolutely.
Okay, can you make that into a motion, Karen, what we just said?
Sure. Already 4 pages.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that all material related to, correct me if I mismotion this, related to the Colorado City Metro District, be on file at the district, that those pieces of information labeled as confidential, may be viewed by duly elected or appointed board members, in the confines of the Metro District office, and that they retain their confidentiality unless that is changed by the board. Is that what you said?
Absolutely.
Discussion. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. No attorney's report. Let's see, we reversed to old and new business.
Well, we won't do it.
Oh,
that
okay,
way.
we took care of that. New business, Bob, dissolution of CCACC account. Would you
Yes.
explain to us what you've got going there?
The former, architectural control committee had funds in safekeeping here in a separate account. We are not owners of that, they were strictly held in trust. That account, because the funds were transferred to the Metro in lieu of legal fees, we need to dissolve that account because it does not technically belong to us. I would like to extend that just a little further, with the other part we had mentioned, and create another account that does belong to the Metropolitan District for, all funds received through architectural to stay in architectural. And the reason being, we had talked about when I did this write-up, what the lawyer had instructed, and, the, statute of 32-1-1004 was mentioned. When I sit and read that statute, one little piece pops out under 8B, the board of a metropolitan district shall have power to furnish covenant enforcements and design review services pursuant to subsection 8, only if the revenues used to furnish such services are derived from the area in which the service is furnished. So, I'm glad Mr. Butcher is here because one of the reasons for this is what he's done in the past. And it's no reflection on him, it just shows us that when you remove covenants from it, we don't have purview. I believe it's the unit, then you remove covenants on your unit, 44. So we do not have purview covenant-wise in that unit. So we have to be careful that, because all the funds that come in for covenant review can only be used in the units that are, under covenant control. And we can't be commingling funds. That's why I asked the board at this time to create an additional account and accounting system to be totally separate from the metropolitan district, because the board is becoming an architectural control committee